My larger reaction is disappointment. I do believe that states should be able, under our Constitution, to bar oath breaking insurrectionists.
Okay, so the Supreme Court just dealt a major blow to the Democrats' coup. The Democrats plan to overthrow the Constitution in order to steal the election again because they're afraid to face Donald Trump. They're afraid that Sleepy Joe might get annihilated in November. They are pushing all types of moves to try to stop Trump. They're trying to bankrupt him. They're trying to put him in jail. And they're even trying to throw him off the ballot in order to take away the choice from the people. They're trying to save democracy by taking away the right to vote for a person from the people. Imagine that. So let's get a little background on exactly what's going on. The Secretary of State in Colorado, who's in charge of the elections in the state of Colorado, she's a left-wing activist. She's a full-blown DNC puppet. So she decided on her own to unilaterally throw Donald Trump off the ballot in Colorado, and that gave other states the courage to follow suit. So states like Illinois, Washington, they were trying it too. They all tried to throw Trump off the ballot. So some red states started talking, like Florida run the Senate and said, look, we can throw Joe off the ballot. If y'all want to play that game, we can come up with some reason to throw Joe off the ballot. Trump challenged this. It went to the Supreme Court pretty quickly, and the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 that you can't do that. The state of Colorado, no state has the authority to take a candidate off of a ballot because they're an alleged insurrectionist. Now, keep in mind, Trump has never, ever been charged with the crime of insurrection. He's never been convicted of insurrection. So we got all of these voters out here. All of these people actually believe that he's an insurrectionist. He's never been convicted of it. I didn't know that your political opponents could just accuse you of a crime, and without being convicted, without being tried, it becomes the gospel truth. So how in the hell can a state throw Trump off the ballot for insurrection when he's never ever been tried or convicted for insurrection? Just something that the Democrats pulled out of their asses. But let's read a little bit about what happened, this unanimous decision with the Supreme Court from this USA Today article here. The Supreme Court on Monday unanimously rejected efforts by some states to declare former President Donald Trump ineligible to run again, but was more divided over whether and how anyone else could do it. The justices also didn't weigh in on a central finding of Colorado's now reversed decision that he can't run because he's engaged in insurrection by trying to overturn the 2020 election on January 6, 2021. Former President Donald Trump declared the decision a big win, while the challengers called the ruling a narrow technical off-ramp that doesn't tell the full story. So what they're trying to say here is you had 9-0. All Supreme Court justices said this isn't right. You can't do this. This is completely unconstitutional. So 4 of them actually wrote that the Supreme Court overstepped its boundaries because it made a ruling to a question that wasn't asked. So the court said, okay, Colorado, you can't do this. You can't take them off the ballot. Then the court went on to say an alleged insurrectionist can't be removed from the ballot. It would take an act of Congress in order to do something like that. And that's what these people are trying to say. They're saying, well, now anybody can just commit crimes and be an insurrectionist and they can run for office. They said an alleged insurrectionist. So if they wanted to remove Trump from the ballot, what should have happened was he would have got impeached for insurrection, and then the Senate would have tried him for insurrection, and the Senate would have convicted him with a 2/3 majority. The Senate would have convicted him of insurrection. But we all know that didn't happen. Even though the Democrats tried it, they screeched and screamed. They wanted the Senate to convict him and throw him out, but it didn't happen. But let's take a moment. Let's look at a couple of clips of some left-wing media, legal experts. Let's get their take on it, because we have people all over Twitter. We have people on MSNBC, ABC, CNN. They're very salty. They're very upset about this because they are afraid that Joe Biden's going to lose. So they didn't want a fair, square election. They just wanted the court to decide. They didn't want the people to decide. They wanted to use their institutional power, and thank goodness that the conservatives had a majority in the court. But they wanted the court to decide. So let's take a look at some of these guys.
It's stunning in its overreach. It's a textbook example, Jake, of the kind of activist judicial opinion from the 1960s and the Warren Court era that begat the conservative legal and judicial movement in the 1970s and 1980s. But of course, it's different here because this is unmistakably a conservative court, most of whose members were leaders of that conservative movement, at least in the 1980s forward.
Extremely important, unanimous aspect of this opinion that's not being noticed, Becky. They did not explicitly deny the lower court findings that Donald Trump was an insurrectionist. Multiple fact finders have reached that conclusion. Indeed, if you look at the evidence, the January 6th committee, Colorado, Maine, Illinois have all found that, and that was not expressly overturned. And indeed, the three Democratic justices pointed to it in their concurrence. So in a sense, they have left the question open for the criminal authorities and for the American people what to do about Donald Trump's allegedly criminal conduct.
So pretty salty. Now, we're going to look at Rachel Maddow. She let the cat out of the bag. So let's take a quick listen to her.
The courts are not going to help. The law will be a sidebar to the main decision. You will make this decision. The only way this decision will be made is by you picking one, by you volunteering and donating and campaigning and deciding it matters enough to you to not only vote, but to help your candidate try to win. The Republican Party really, really is amazing right now. But the only thing that will stop them is Democrats winning instead. Period. Full stop. Thank you, United States Supreme Court, for the clarification. The campaign, if we didn't know it already, the campaign starts now.
So there you have it. Rachel Maddow, one of the biggest names on left-wing television. She just let the cat out of bed. She said, I guess we got to vote. I guess we have to run an actual campaign because the original plan was not to run a campaign against Trump. They were going to let Biden or Gavin Newsom, whoever, sit on the sideline, and they were going to use their institutional power and their influence to try to throw Trump out the ballot, to try to win the election without having the people vote. So she said, well, I guess we have to run an actual election now because we were trying to overthrow the government in order to preserve democracy. We were trying to run a coup and basically throw the Constitution out the window. But now I guess we have to run an actual campaign. But here's the trip. People are still going to fall for this. People are going to be salty. All the court is biased. All the court, they're conservative. They're just going to protect Trump. So you can flip that. You're going to say, well, if the court was more left-leaning, wouldn't that mean they would be biased against Trump? So that argument doesn't work. You can say that left-wing Colorado activist, that Secretary of State, she's biased against Trump anyway. And the same with these DAs and prosecutors who are trying to throw the book at Trump. But there you have it. 9-0 Supreme Court dealt a serious blow to the left-wing activists, and they're salty, they're crying. So I guess Kleenex and Puffs, they're going to make a lot of money this week because a lot of leftist tears going on. But let me know what you guys think. Leave me your thoughts below. Share the video. Thanks for watching.